occurs to me that I've picked up a fair number of new viewers over the past year or so. Consequently, that means there are probably a lot of people out there who don't know the origin of my name, meaning the name I go by on YouTube. I imagine most of you also know my real name is Brian, but you may not know why I go by Arkle, like pretty much everywhere, on YouTube, on Twitter, Tumblr, etc. and so forth. And I put a poll up on Twitter asking people if they knew the story, or if I'd told them and they just forgot, or if I'd never told them. And the winner was, I'd never told them. That they knew it, or that they knew I told them but forgotten, tied for third, and a joke answer I threw in there came in second. But, so that's what this video is going to address. And I'm going to try and not hate myself for the fact that I took that poll in November, and I'm only doing the video now. So, many moons ago, there were forums for fans of the films of Kevin Smith and his production company, View Askew. Hopefully I don't need to explain to any of you who Kevin Smith is. These forums no longer exist. They had to be, well, basically nuked from orbit because they'd gotten so toxic, but I'd already been banned from there by the time that happened. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. And hey, I met my best friend through those forums. I don't know if I've actually talked about her on the show, but my friend Diamira, I've known her for, well, about 15, wow, going on like 16 years now. Wow. I knew her before either of her sons were born. Anyway, back then, I kind of cycled through some usernames. I don't even actually remember what all of them were. But for a brief period of time, I went by, and this was the full name with no spaces, because it didn't allow for that, The Great Green Arkle Seizure. Now, really, really deep-cut nerds out there will recognize that as a reference to the books of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series by Douglas Adams. This was actually before the movie had come out, so I was not aware at the time I was going by that one-off joke from one of the books was going to become a kind of major plot point in the movie that would not really be fleshed out all that well. Look, I don't hate the movie, but as adaptations go, it's probably one of the weakest. Actually, no, probably about it. It is the weakest, but I digress. But because, Great Green Arkle Seizure was kind of a long thing to type out when you're replying to someone in forums, it became common for people to just shorten it. I mean, some would just do, a highlight and Control-C and then Control-V kind of thing. But, there was, people would call me Great Green, Greenie, GGA. People who wanted to try and make fun of me would call me Ankle Biter. But by far, the most common of all of them was just simply Arkle, A-R-K-L-E. Well, I don't need to spell it out for you. You're watching a video on the Arkle Studios YouTube channel. That one, it was not only the most common shortening of that name that later on, when I changed my username, which I don't remember what I changed it to, like I said, I'd cycled through several during my time on those forums. People, even after I changed it, people were still calling me Arkle. So, later on, when, MySpace was at its peak, and I went ahead and got my own MySpace page, I got mine under the name Arkle. And, the rest, as they say, is history. Oh, and the reason I go by the human Arkle in some places, particularly places where just straight up Arkle is already taken, I did not find this out until well after that had sort of become my nickname online and became my net handle. Arkle is the name of a rather famous Irish racing horse from the 1960s. And in case you're wondering, yes, but not as often as you'd think. I do periodically get mentions on Twitter from people who really seem to think that I'm an official account for this rather famous horse. I think there's actually a race in Ireland that's sort of like their equivalent to the Kentucky Derby that is named after that particular horse. And I think some people just get confused. Again, as famous as that horse is, it does not happen as often as you might think. So, it doesn't really bother me all that much. I just go, it's like, sorry, I have no association with either the horse's owners or with the race named after him. It's an odd coincidence. But yeah, so, if you didn't know the story, now you do.